Although there are many recognizable figures within the Marvel's Universe franchise, the character and transmedia journey I will be focusing on today is Iron Man. Iron Man, created in March 1963 by writers Stan Lee and Larry Lieber, has grown immensely over the past 50 years. Before we jump into this transmedia storyline, let's first define transmedia. According to Convergence Culture, Henry Jenkins defined transmedia as, quote, a transmedia story unfolds across multiple media platforms, with each new text making a distinctive and valuable contribution to the whole. So basically, the main idea is to create a baseline for the story and build upon it through each new media platform. The two main categories of transmedia would be East and West Coast. East Coast transmedia tells a story through smaller interactions, such as blogs, websites, and social media posts. West Coast transmedia gets a story across through bigger platforms, such as movies, TV shows, and/or video games. Iron Man, I would argue, is an example of West Coast transmedia, as it has evolved from comic books to cartoons to video games and big-name movies. It can also be defined as a transmedia franchise because with every new media that comes out, it builds upon the main character and adds to the mystery of the plot, hinting towards an uncertain future. What I found interesting about this character was that he was not the average hero that the current Marvel fans wanted at the time, or were hoping for. Iron Man, whose character name is Tony Stark, has a depressing past like most superheroes, but does not conduct himself like the average hero would. During the Cold War, and in a time where people disliked and protested authority, rich people, and those who created weapons, Tony Stark became a hero with all the unlikable qualities. Creator Stan Lee even mentioned in an interview that he was skeptical that people would like or even grow to like Iron Man. He stated, just for fun, I figured I'm going to create a hero who makes ammunitions, is very wealthy, and see if it would work, and luckily it did. Iron Man made his first appearance, like many other superheroes, through comic books. The first issue he was featured in was the Tales of Suspense series, in issue number 39. By 1966, he was featured in his own cartoons, where he looks, quite frankly, like the bottom of the clothes iron. What's important to note is that from this point on, the fans were able to see Iron Man's suit morph and change, as the animators tried to create a memorable presentation of this character. The Invincible Iron Man was the first ever cartoon released in 1966. By this time, Iron Man's suit was a popular combination of red and gold, but it was still in the works. The show lasted one season and had 13 episodes, and it wasn't until 1981, 15 years later, that Iron Man would show on screen again, but this time as a side character in the show Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. In total, Iron Man has had about 8 of his own TV shows, and has been featured in 31 other Marvel shows, the most recent one being 2017 Spider-Man TV show. There's also the 1978 live adaptation of Avengers, which, yeah, we don't really... everyone has a rough start. So, along with cartoons, a line of Iron Man action figures was also released. The first Iron Man toy was put on the market during the early 1970s. The toy featured a combination of plush and plastic, and stuck to the Iron Man's famous red and yellow colors, that resulted in him kind of appearing as a man with jaundice. However, the toy's appearance did get better from that point on. Although the few 1980s toys were made of cheap plastic, the next memorable toy was in 1995, which featured a full line of Iron Man toys. What's notable about this toy is that it contains snap-on accessories, which allowed the fans to create and change Iron Man's suit, which added to the interactive element of this transmedia. Other toys were also put on the market and remained successful for a while, but eventually fell through as they did not have memorable villains to go with each suit. Starting in 1991, Iron Man video games were released. In total, there have been about 20 different video games that either feature Iron Man as a main character or as an option for players. Today, Iron Man's most recent feature game is in Marvel Strike Force, which is actually a mobile game app. There's also a VR game that fans can use where they can essentially become Iron Man and experience the aspects of a suit, fight bad guys, fly, and more. Through the VR, fans can get a complete view of the Iron Man world, and even to the point where they forget to draw the line between fantasy and reality. By playing this game, fans get to become really immersed and deepen their experience in the storyline, a key factor Jenkins mentioned in his book. There are also online games where players can create and personalize their own Iron Man suit. While Iron Man did have some popularity with comic books, cartoons, toys, and video games, it really wasn't until 2008 that this character truly became a household name. Robert Downey Jr. famously played Iron Man and did justice to bring his character to life. It's through this movie and this presentation that Downey really added to the complexity of this character, and that kept the fans curious and wanting to see more, especially with Iron Man's suit. From the recent movies of Iron Man, it appears that this is the suit the animators have landed on, and decided that he will have from this point forward. However, in newer movies, Iron Man continues to create more suits with different powers. This adds to the curiosity of the fans. Since we're not really certain what Iron Man creates or what he's going to create in his lab, where it might lead to next, Fans have an open invitation to guess and share their predictions with other fans based on the original comic books, the movies they made so far, and that adds to the world of building and part of this transmedia storyline. After the release of the first movie in 2008, Iron Man 2 and 3 followed in 2010 and 2013. With each movie, Downey added more complexity to Iron Man. In the first movie, he is portrayed as an apathetic jerk who only cares about making weapons, being a ladies' man, and making money. However, as the movie progresses and the storyline builds, the fans can sit back and say to a degree, oh, I guess Iron Man does have a heart. One fan, Richard George, explained in a website that it's easy to dismiss Iron Man as simply another comic book origin film, but to do so would overlook what truly makes this film work. This is about a man accepting responsibility for his actions. His debt to society is massive, and his many faults have been exploited to significantly harm innocent people around the world. No other comic book movie has ever explored this concept, making Iron Man unique despite the larger thematic similarities. This is just one point of view after the release of the first film, which goes to show that the viewers were paying close attention and formulating their own world and idea of Iron Man, and anticipated more from what the producers produced at that time. It was mainly after these films that the fans started to become more involved with this character. Some even went as far as creating their own suits, which likened that of Tony Stark's. Fans also began analyzing the film to find Easter eggs, which is basically a term for hints that will point to the possible future outcomes of next films. One website analyzes all 3 of Iron Man films and reveals Easter eggs that other fans might not have noticed and actually hinted towards the first Avengers film. Fans can discuss Iron Man's story through social media such as Twitter, and Robert Downey Jr. does an excellent job with interacting and responding to fans and comments and questions, and bringing Iron Man to life, even off-screen. Fans are also able to explore and share ideas in person at Comic-Con, some of which have had the opportunity to see and hear the creator, Stan Lee, in person discuss the character, or meet Robert Downey Jr. and talk about what has happened with Iron Man so far, and what could potentially happen next. Another way that deepens the fans' experiences is the freedom for fans to create their own fan account, either on Instagram, Tumblr, Facebook, or Twitter. This can mean one of 2 things. 1, a fan can create an account where they pose and pretend to be the character or characters that they admire. And here, the fan can create and expand on the world of the characters as they see fit. Or 2, a fan can create an account that simply admires the characters and discusses their favorite quotes, scenes, or predicts what happens within the future. This is the perfect open grounds for fans to get together and create their own Iron Man world. There are certain websites fans can use to discuss this character. One example is an article by Zach Howe, which features all of the Iron Man suits that have been portrayed on screen so far, and an explanation for each one. To date, about 11,000 people have read the article, and 300 have voted on their favorite suit. Iron Man as a transmedia franchise has been successful for several reasons. It continues to grow. As each new cartoon and movie are released, the graphics and complexities of the character were improved and deepened, which kept fans entertained and at the edge of their seat. Through social media, Marvel has maintained a relationship with fans. Creators and producers have listened and taken into consideration what the fans want, and look forward to doing more in the future, just as Downey mentions in this interview.
What Marvel has done is they have taken the high road and they've really listened to the audience and the fans, and there's been a lot of kind of creative synergy.
This points to the fact that although Iron Man is not entirely grassroots, it still has a grassroots influence with its fans. Aside from independent films, Iron Man's story continues to grow through other movies and adds to his storyline. He's featured in The Incredible Hulk, The Avengers, Avengers Age of Ultron, Captain America Civil War, Spider-Man Homecoming, and Avengers Infinity War. Fast forward from 1966, the Iron Man Transmedia franchise has taken on a variety of platforms and continues to grow through video games, social media, and being featured in other Marvel movies. Who knows where the creators or fans will take this story next?